Subscribe to our YouTube channel and press the bell icon to get the latest updates.
Many of you have been asking me why Cut the Clutter took a day's break. Now, it's never such a bad idea to take an occasional day's break. But that besides, one of the reasons yesterday was that by our operating hours, we had limited clarity with what was going on at the Congress Working Committee, and I knew you expected me to speak about the Congress issue because that was the big story yesterday, that is Monday. Second, by the time we got clarity, I wasn't quite sure I had anything new to tell you because you declutter something which is cluttered. What had happened at the Congress Working Committee is that nothing had happened. It was more of the same. It was the same drama. Sonia threatening to resign, everybody pleading with her not to. There were some leaks about Rahul Gandhi getting upset or Sonia getting upset with those who might have signed that letter that made news earlier that demanded essentially, I'm not interested in any other part of the letter, but if you juice that letter and you will get your 2 drops of juice at the end of it, the rest is all faff. That will be their demand for a visible and active leadership. Visible and active. So, visible not just on video, on Zoom or Skype or WebEx, and also active, which means out working in the field, both of which Rahul Gandhi has not been lately. And one more word that remained unsaid in that letter, obviously nobody would dare to say it, but it was whispered sufficiently loudly for everybody to hear. It was non-abrasive because there has been an issue with a lot of the established leaders of the party thinking that Rahul Gandhi's dealings with them are conducted in a style that is abrasive or that is off-putting for them, their problem. Now, nothing much happened. The same thing happened. Everybody said Sonia will continue for 6 more months. So, what do we talk about? So, sleeping over it always helps. So, by the time I woke up in the morning, I had an idea of taking you back to 1992 to begin this story. 1992 was 28 years back, and why am I doing it? So, April 1992, Congress party decided to hold elections to the Congress Working Committee. Last time a valiant and clear effort at an open election to the party's highest and most powerful decision making body was attempted. It just so happened, reporters' luck, that this session was in Tirupati, and at that point of time I happened to be in Chennai. So, I also joined a bunch of our correspondents. I used to work at India Today then, to go to Tirupati, my first visit to the temple also. Now, that is when that last election took place. Why am I taking you back to 1992? 1992, there were no Gandhis on the scene. In 1991, Rajiv Gandhi had died, Narasimha Rao had taken over. So, now Narasimha Rao was the boss of the Congress party, the new boss of the Congress party. So, the point I am trying to make is that the destruction of internal democracy in the Congress party did not begin today. Now, that is not to absolve the Gandhi mother, son, daughter of their blame, but this is a tradition which was set in late 60s by Mrs. Gandhi. So, if you start blaming the Gandhis, you have to start with the original Gandhi in this lineage of Gandhis, not Mahatma Gandhis, and then you have to see how everybody continued it. That's why I am beginning not with 1966 or 1969 when Mrs. Gandhi split the party, but with 1992 when the Gandhis were nowhere on the scene. So, what happened in 1992? We were there. It was a very hot summer already because you know how hot that part of Andhra is. In April, a CWC election was held. And Narasimha Rao thought that while this will assuage those within his party who were demanding democracy in his party and who were at odds with his becoming so powerful Prime Minister first and the party president. Second, he thought it would help him consolidate his own position So through this election, he also wanted to flaunt the fact that he was now in control of the party, but that did not happen. The opposite happened. What happened? Some of his favorites lost. In fact, many of his favorites lost, but among those who lost were Pranab Mukherjee and K. Karunakaran of Kerala. So those stalwarts lost, including others who Narasimha Rao was backing. So this exposed the fact that Narasimha Rao was not so strong or not so powerful among the rank and file of the party, rank and file at AICC level, because this was an AICC session, All India Congress Committee session. Who were the people who won? People he did not like, or people he liked least of all, or people who he disliked most, they got elected. So the person who he saw as his biggest challenger in the Congress party, Arjun Singh, he got the largest number of votes in that CWC election. Sharad Pawar, again somebody who had challenged him for prime ministership just the previous year, but withdrawn at the last moment because it seemed that he was not able to get the support of more than 50 odd MPs. That's less than a fifth of the party's strength in the two houses of parliament. So he had withdrawn at the last moment, but he had challenged Narasimha Rao the previous year. So he got elected. Arjun Singh, the highest number of votes. Pawar got elected. Rajesh Pilot, again seen as a young upstart at that time and a challenger, he got elected. A.K. Antony got elected, and Balram Jakhar got elected. Now, some of these people are still around, and those who are those who are no longer around, their children are around mostly in the Congress. Narasimha Rao was never going to accept it. This was the last free election, imagine, in the party. He was not going to accept it, even though the Gandhis were not present. So he declared that election null and void. Now, how does Narasimha Rao declare an election like that null and void after holding it with great fanfare? Because in politics, you can always play a card, and in India, if every other card a card fails, you play the caste card. And caste card also, nothing plays better than the Dalit card, because Dalit card is a weapon of mass destruction in a political argument, because this closes all argument. So Narasimha Rao said that because no Dalit had got elected to the CWC, this election couldn't be accepted. So he declared that election null and void. He nominated his own Congress working committee, in which all these people who had lost, they were included, including Karunakaran, and because his excuse or reasoning was absence of a Dalit, Sushil Kumar Shinde was included, who later became Chief Minister of Maharashtra and Home Minister of India. He got included, but Narasimha Rao was careful enough not to alienate everybody fully. So all those who had won CWC elections on their own, that is Arjun Singh, Pawar, Pilot, Antony, Jakhar, they were all re-nominated to CWC as well. Now, why am I telling you this story from 1992 to explain what's happening today? That this culture of not accepting any inner party democracy in the Congress is now deeply entrenched. When did it start? I will tell you, in 1964, after Nehru died, there was an open question after Nehru who. So Morarji Desai, who for the longest time had been the person waiting to become Prime Minister, he threw his Gandhi cap in the ring. The party establishment's preference was for Lal Bahadur Shastri. Morarji said he'll contest an election, but at that point, K. Kamraj, who was the big boss of the Congress party, very skillful and very tough, he was able to manage the situation by calling every MP and asking him or her, "Bhai, dekho, my choice is Lal Bahadur Shastri. Do you have a better choice? My choice is Lal Bahadur Shastri. Do you have a better choice?" So nobody, or maybe somebody did, but almost nobody or most people said they were fine with the choice of Lal Bahadur Shastri, and that's how Kamraj averted that election. In 1966, when Shastri passed away on 11th of January, after that once again a leadership tussle came up, and now the party establishment preferred Indira Gandhi at that point, Once again, Morarji Desai decided to oppose her, and this time the party high command at that point was not able to prevent an election. So an election did take place for Prime Minister. In that election, Mrs. Gandhi won by 355 votes compared to Morarji Desai's 169. Now you might say this is 355 plus 169, this is more than 543, this is almost more than the strength of Lok Sabha. It's not that. The entire parliament party includes members of both houses. So 355 to 169, Mrs. Gandhi won. Once she got that victory, after that she finished internal democracy in the Congress party. Such a thing was not to happen barring once in 2000, and I will come to that. Now 1967, we know that Congress suffered many setbacks in many states. It lost a lot of the states in India. Also, a lot of Congress parties, stalwarts lost. Kamraj himself lost out in Tamil Nadu. DMK came to power. So, a lot changed in India's politics. And after that, in 1969, Indira Gandhi split the party. She threw, in fact, she left all the old guard behind and essentially built a new party, Congress I, and said this is the real Congress party, although the original was called Congress O standing not for original but organization. So she became the real party, and after that, from that you went up to Indira is India. Now Indira is India, somebody may have had to go back on, but Indira is Congress stayed on, and since then a Gandhi is Congress has been established. And even in the brief period when Gandhis were not directly in control of the Congress party, the same lack of democracy, high command culture, party president being the big boss, both spelled with a capital B, that tradition came into being. So that's the point I am making. Now see what else happened after that. In 1991, Sharad Pawar challenged Narasimha Rao. At the last moment, he withdrew because, as we told you just a couple of minutes back, he only got support of 54 MPs, which is much less than 1/4 of the party's strength, even in Lok Sabha. Then, 1997, the party again saw some internal democracy when Sitaram Kesri was challenged for party presidentship. But once again, Sitaram Kesri was no mass leader. He was not even such a Dada minister, etc., as Narasimha Rao. And yet, Sitaram Kesri, look at the votes they got. Sitaram Kesri got, let me first tell you, what did Sharad Pawar, his main rival, get? Sharad Pawar got 882 votes only, 882. His second rival, again, still a young upstart, an upstart, I am not saying negatively myself, I think young people should have ambition, but that is how the establishment in the Congress party looked at him. So Rajesh Pilot got 354 votes. How much did Sitaram Kesri get? He got 6,227 votes. So once again it tells you that even if some kind of a democracy is attempted, the establishment in the Congress wins overwhelmingly, even if it's not a Gandhi. Sitaram Kesri won, just as Narasimha Rao had won. So this is the high command culture that is now part of the Congress party's DNA. It's not just part of the DNA of the Gandhi family, although the original Gandhi, that is the Indira Gandhi, she laid the foundation stone, or she built the foundations and edifice of this high command culture. So it's very difficult for that party to change. You had a couple more things after that. Importantly, in 2000, Jitendra Prasada, a Brahmin leader from Uttar Pradesh, he decided to challenge Sonia Gandhi. Why he did it, I don't have much insight on, but he did decide to challenge, and by the time the election day was coming, he knew that he didn't have much support. So at the last moment, he kept on saying that he will withdraw, but only if Sonia Gandhi would request him to withdraw. So this was a face saver that he wanted. Not very different from right now how Supreme Court is telling Prashant Bhushan again, "Arey bhai apologize, we'll let you go," right? So in this case, he also tried, he also said the same thing. If Sonia Gandhi tells me to withdraw, I will withdraw. Sonia Gandhi did no such thing. So 2000 election was held. Sonia Gandhi got almost 99% of the votes. So of the votes cast, Sonia Gandhi got 7,448 votes. Remember earlier Sitaram Kesri had got 6,227. So she got 1,221 more than that. And how did she get that? Because earlier Pawar had got 882, Pilot had got 354. Now poor Jitendra Prasada only got 94 votes. So almost 99% Sonia Gandhi got. So this was also over. Now what happened to Jitendra Prasada in Congress party after that? Can you challenge the big leader and still live to tell the tale and grow in the party? Now unfortunately, very unfortunately, that is one analysis point on which we can say nothing to you, because we don't know. Why? Because within 2.5 months of that election, very unfortunately, Jitendra Prasada passed away because of a heart attack, sudden heart attack at a relatively young age. And it so happened that after that his son Jitendra Prasada has grown in the Congress party and has done very well, has been a minister, has been respected and has had power as well. So that I think is half an analysis, that even though he challenged Sonia Gandhi, unfortunately, although he passed away soon thereafter to a heart attack, his son, it's not as if his son or his family were blackballed from the party. But since then, nobody has dared to challenge anybody to anything. In fact, even in 1984 December, read the first volume of Pranab Mukherjee's memoirs. The first volume, he mentions the story of how a couple of bureaucrats, P.C. Alexander and others who were not really in AICC or Congress Working Committee, they got together in All India Institute of Medical Sciences just as Mrs. Gandhi's body was being sort of wrapped up to be sent home. They had a conversation there, and there they decided that Rajiv Gandhi will be Prime Minister, not anybody else. And that is when Pranab Mukherjee thought he was the front runner. And it was the punishment for that undue, quote unquote, undue ambition that Pranab Mukherjee was put in the cold storage for a very long time after that. And he suffered through that Rajiv tenure. He writes about that very carefully, but अकलमंद को इशारा ही काफ़ी है, समझने वाले समझ गए. And I wrote about this in National Interest. He made it quite clear how he was made to pay for challenging Rajiv Gandhi. So that is the now culture of the Congress party. Now you can counter it. Congress people counter it, and I saw Chidambaram countered it on Rajdeep Sardesai show by saying, look, we still have more internal democracy than the BJP. Now, to say that you have more internal democracy than BJP may be right, because at least in your party, people had the courage to write a letter complaining about the leadership. You held a working committee meeting. Everybody had a say. In BJP lately, such a thing has been an impossibility. But that really is a poor comparison and a poorer consolation, because the BJP, with all this lack of or supposed lack of internal democracy, has the numbers. It has numbers in parliament, it has numbers of votes, it has numbers in a sufficiently large number of state assemblies, whereas Congress has declining numbers everywhere. So this brings us to what is the upshot of this. Now, why is it so that the party always goes, party's instinct tells it to go with the establishment, with established leaders, never to reject them. And we told you, whether it was Indira Gandhi, Rajiv Gandhi, Sonia Gandhi, Rahul Gandhi, who at this point is a non-leader because he doesn't have a formal position, but also Narasimha Rao and Sitaram Kesri. Congress party, one reason is that nobody wants to think about who, if this leader goes away, who the next leader could be, because in that case, everybody wants himself or herself to be that next leader. There is insufficient respect for anybody else. So one of the reasons why nobody wants a change in leadership is that, look, it's very uncomfortable, very inconvenient. When you change leaders, then you have to anoint a new leader. Who should that leader be? In that case, that leader should be me. Me means everybody in the Congress party. So everybody thinks then I am an equal, right? And if I am not getting it, why should I submit to someone else's power? Because I know how powerful the president of the Congress party will be. So in that case, put up with whoever is there. So to twist an old metaphor, मजबूरी का नाम कोई भी गांधी, that is Indira, Rajiv, Rahul, Sonia, or anybody else, even if it's a Kesri or a Rao, don't change it. So Congress party has become status quo-ist. Now in this situation, from where do the Gandhis draw their power? We know, and we've said this often enough, that Gandhis are incapable of getting votes to get their people elected. Why do they have the power? That's because you have to understand the Congress party's numbers. No matter what happens, Congress party gets 20% of the vote. Even the recent India Today poll that we spoke about, that shows Modi doing much better, Congress party's 20% has fallen only to just over 19%. So that is solid vote. Now that vote, the Gandhi family may not be able to swing, but that vote belongs to the brand called the Congress party. It's like some people, no matter what happens, will always call their cooking oil dalda. They will not call it refined oil, etc., etc., etc. They'll call it dalda. It's a brand. So Congress party is a brand. So about 20% vote goes for the brand or for the symbol. That brand is owned by the Gandhi family. That's how Gandhi family owns the 20% vote. It cannot swing any further vote to make it 20 to 30%. But it owns that, and none of these other leaders who are challengers or likely challengers or asking questions, they are capable of swinging any of that vote. So this is the brand franchise that the family owns. That's their big power, and that is all the Congress party has got left with them. Second, it's a shrinking party. We know that party, states where the party still had strong presence, that is Maharashtra, Karnataka, Gujarat, it is struggling now and it's shrinking in those places. Gujarat, it did better last time, but parliament election again showed that it's quite, it's weakening there. Madhya Pradesh, it's weakened a bit. Rajasthan, we don't know, because after this round of dissidents and also the party's incumbent, so let us see what happens by 2023. That is when the assembly elections are supposed to take place. And then there is also the history of other states where the party was always number 1 or number 2, where it has now ceded the number 2 place to the BJP, or is in the process of ceding the number 2 place to the BJP. That is Odisha, West Bengal, Andhra. These 3 are gone to the BJP. And Telangana is in the process, because BJP is growing in Telangana, Congress isn't. So that would leave Congress party with Kerala, Tamil Nadu in alliance with DMK, and Punjab, which case, as we keep telling you, is sui generis. So this party is on the skids and going downwards. So the concern of these other leaders is correct, but at the same time, they neither have the courage nor the ability to turn things around. So either they will all fall in line and party will fall in line, and Rahul Gandhi will come and take over and rebuild the party, or you will find that some of these leaders, particularly those who have some backing in their states, they will try and do a Sharad Pawar or a Mamata Banerjee or a Purno Sangma on the Congress party, or a YSR on the Congress party, which means split the party, form a regional party and take that section of the party's vote banks, which is what all these leaders that I just listed for you right now have done. So that's a possibility. Now, when I say it's most likely, one can always be wrong in politics, but most likely what you will see at the end of this is that one way or the other, Rahul Gandhi will take over as president of the party, because it's quite evident now that Sonia Gandhi is not going to leave it for anybody else. Now, a lot of the seniors in the Congress party, why are they so impatient? My understanding is, and I get it from D.K. Singh, our political editor also, that understanding is that a lot of the seniors think that the day Rahul takes over, they will be history, because he will get rid of all of them and build a completely new party of people that he likes. That is something like what even Rajiv Gandhi had done when he took over. He got rid of a lot of Indira Gandhi's confidants or sidelined them. Even in the bureaucracy. That's how the game of power is played. So right now, they are clinging onto Sonia Gandhi, and I know that I'm mixing up things, mixing up a metaphor, but I often do that because it makes more sense. That it's a bit like in a family, in a traditional Indian family, and children are afraid of the father because father is too tough, they go and hide in the mother's pallu. Okay, bachao. So this is not that situation. These are not parents, but because they are afraid of Rahul, they are hiding behind Sonia Gandhi, and now they see that it's a matter of time. It's an inevitability that Sonia will now withdraw, and they will have to deal with Rahul, and then a new party will be built. Where that party goes, when that happens, what its future is, that there is no point right now wasting time guessing.